Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video it is a very good day indeed, because today we're going to be taking a look at the Kolink Citadel Mesh ATX ARGB. Something that I've been waiting for an awful long time, and I'm so pleased it's finally here. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we're taking a look at the Kolink Citadel Mesh ATX version. This is the addressable RGB case that I've been waiting for a very long time. Since the days when we reviewed the original Citadel Mesh, the micro ATX version, that thing was a great case. But sadly, it didn't fit all individuals because it was micro ATX. Whereas now we've got the, well, actually EATX version here. Even though this is a mid-tower case chassis, it can take an ATX motherboard, EATX, micro ATX if you want to, although realistically, if you're going for micro ATX, get the Citadel Mesh micro ATX. It's a fantastic little case. And a lot of the design elements of that micro ATX case follow through into the bigger brother, the ATX version, as you can probably see already. So we've got this really nice fine mesh on the front, and also the side elements as well, which again is almost identical to the micro ATX version of it. One of the great things we've got is an absolute ton of room up front. It does come with 4 addressable RGB fans. Those are the Kolink Umbra fans, which are both addressable RGB and fully PWM controlled. And actually a controller as well, which works extremely well. Anyway, I'm gushing a little bit too much. We're going to go through today, do a teardown of the case, tell you all about it, see if it's right for you, and yeah, I'm genuinely actually really excited. I want to use this as my daily rig, so I'm going to put my video editing system in here, transfer the whole lot across and use it in this. It's been a case I've been waiting for a long time, and it's actually come out at a price a little bit less than what I expected. At the moment you can pick this up from places like Overclockers in the UK for some of the reason about £100, which isn't cheap, let's be honest. It is towards the upper end of the market, but it does take an awful lot of boxes, and also is very comparable to other cases which are considerably more expensive, such as the Corsair 5000D and also things like Phankteks P500. That's the kind of things that this is comparing with, but it does it at almost 2/3 of the price. Anyway, with that said, let's get on with it. So first of all, let's take a look at the sizes of this thing. So it is EATX compatible, but in a relatively small form factor. So we're looking at 231mm wide, 484mm high by 460mm deep. So to be honest with you, not much bigger than most ATX tower cases, but certainly does have a lot of room inside it. We've got this front section here, which is removable, which I'll just pop off now. And this reveals the fan layout. So like I said, you get 3 fans included at the front. These are Kolink's Umbra PWM ARGB fans. Rotational speeds between 300 RPM and 1500 RPM. Again, fully controllable via PWM, which is absolutely brilliant. You can probably tell already, but you can actually put in here, if you want to, 3 140mm fans. So if you do want a little bit of extra airflow, and maybe you don't like the original fans which are in here, then of course you can swap them out. Although realistically, they actually do a pretty decent job. So I would probably hold on to them until you actually have a need to change them. But yeah, they're absolutely fine. And they do look really nice. We've got addressable RGB lighting from the center hub. And also there is some accents around the outside edge as well. And that is for the front and the rear as well. So they all look very nice. Radiator support. Now, obviously, radiator support is always one of those things which is a little bit hit and miss. 360 rad in here, no problems whatsoever up front. 420, potentially. You may need to reach out to us in the comment section, and I'll get the tape measure out and see which ones will fit. A 420 rad isn't 420mm. It's generally a little bit bigger, so do check before buying. But 360s, pretty much any of them, even the bigger ones, such as the Arctic ones, will fit in here, no problems at all up front. The mesh front panel, very much like the micro ATX version again, so we've got the perforated edges on the sides there, so nice perforations. So depending on where you mount the fans, at the moment the fans are mounted on the front of the case. If you want to, you can actually mount them a little bit further back should you wish to. Entirely up to you. I prefer the look of them up front, and I was a little bit concerned that they might be a little bit too close to the mesh, creating a little bit of turbulence and noise, but in reality they're absolutely silent. Now going around to the side, so we've got a tempered glass side panel with a very light smoke tint to it. There are 2 screws holding it in place. They're not captive ones, sadly, but I don't think that's the end of the world. But obviously if you do undo them, it isn't just going to fall straight out, but do be careful. So it just slides backwards and off. There's a little bit of a trim around the outside edge to hide those greasy fingerprints. Obviously the center section you will have to clean manually. And with the glass out of the way, you can see this thing is actually really cavernous. It is huge inside, even though it isn't really that big a case overall. Just again, normal ATX case size effectively. But what you have got room in here for is, like I said before, you've got the room for a extended ATX motherboard, should you wish to. ATX fits fine. You're probably seeing some B-roll I did a little bit earlier with the system actually installed in here, which is my kind of test bench system, which I was running in here just to get the lights working and just get a feel for the case. And yeah, it all works out very nicely. Got a massive cutout there for CPU coolers. I should talk about actually specs for that. So CPU coolers, you can have up to 180mm CPU cooler, which is absolutely enormous. Graphics card wise, you're looking at 385mm in length, although this does measure from here to here around about 400mm, so potentially you could get away with ones a little bit bigger, depending if you have a radiator, which may encroach here. There is a cutout on the bottom here, so if you do put a radiator and fans, and maybe even a push-pull configuration, then this cutout section from the fan actually is about 65mm. So even again, if you're using a 360mm rad, even a slightly wider one, you shouldn't have any problems with a 25mm fan and a radiator. Now, just so you can see things a little bit better, I'm going to remove the magnetic grille from the top. So there is a top section, which is also massively ventilated, which you can probably see there. So actually the same deal pretty much on the top. So if you want to put a 360mm radiator up here, you can do. I did measure earlier, and again, we're looking around about 400mm from the very front to the very back. So again, when it comes to 360mm rads, a 360mm rad isn't 360mm because the fans are 360mm. The radiator will normally overlap a little bit. But any of the AIO type setups, which are around about the 400mm generally, that should fit in there. But again, if you're not sure, reach out to me in the comment section. I'll get this thing undone, measure it all up exactly to let you know exactly what measurements you need. Also, with that out of the way, you can now see all the rubberized grommets. Now, there's actually a ton of rubberized grommets in here, and actually I think there's about 12 of them in total. So you've got 3 along this top section, and the top section is raised up massively as well. So if you are having a motherboard, it's going to come off to about this level here. So you've got a really good area there. So if you are putting one of those radiators in the top, even with your fans, you're still going to be able to get to things like your EPS connector for your motherboard, or maybe change some fan settings, all that kind of stuff very easily. And it's nice that you've got grommets in there. You've also got 2 lots here. So there is, if you're using an ATX motherboard, then you've got 3 there. If you're using something a little bit wider, which is overlapping a little bit, then you can go ahead and use the ones a little bit further out. Or you can use those to wire up things like AIOs, fans from the front, etc., just to make things look a little bit tidier, should you wish to. If that wasn't enough, there's an additional 3 on the bottom as well. So for your pass-throughs, for your front I/O connections, your USB 2s and USB Type-C, HD audio in the corner there. Yeah, so everything really, all the pass-throughs are rubberized, which is a really, really nice thing to see. Something else which is nice to see is a solid basement section, which actually serves 2 purposes. One, it obviously gives the case rigidity, makes it easier to clean, so you just wipe it off with a cloth. But also you'll notice there are 2 small holes there, and that is because there is actually an included bracket. So if you do want to vertically mount your GPU in here, you certainly can do. And actually there is a 7+3 setup for the PCI Express blanking plates. So if you want to mount a vertical GPU in there, very easily to do. If it's water cooled, no problems at all. And even if you've got a double or triple slot card, then you're still going to fit it in there. Although if it's a triple slot card, you might find it getting a little bit close to the glass. So obviously do bear that in mind in terms of airflow. But certainly if you want to mount a vertical GPU in here, you can do. It doesn't include a vertical GPU mount cable, so you will need to buy one of those separately. And do make sure if you are buying one of those that you choose between a PCI Express Gen 3 or a Gen 4 cable. Gen 4 ones are going to be much, much more expensive, but there is a reason behind it, and it's because they actually work with PCI Express Gen 4 graphics cards. So other things of note, towards the back there is the other fan, so to make up the total of 4, the Umbra 120mm ARGB fan, again fully RGB or addressable RGB and also fully PWM. Something else which you've possibly noticed already is there are some cutouts on this bottom section here. I'm not really sure why they're there, to be honest with you. They don't really make much difference. You are going to get a little bit of airflow from the bottom fan going into the basement section, so it's somewhere, I guess, for the pressure to come out on the sides possibly. Doesn't really serve any real purpose, and to be completely honest, I'd prefer to see those blanked off. Although there is a nice section here, which you could put some sort of logo, stickers, etc., etc., should you wish to. Moving round to the back of the case, so on the back, again, you can see the 7+3 setup, so all of these PCI Express blanking plates are removable and replaceable. Sadly, the ones on this side, the 3 aren't, so yeah, that would have been nice to have those 3 being replaceable, but yeah, not the end of the world. At the top here, This is a really cool section because you can, much like the front, you can use either 120 or 140mm fans. So it comes with the 120, as I keep on saying, but you can, if you want to, replace it with some 140s if you need to get that little bit of extra airflow. Nice that they've included the fans straight out the box, but again, as you grow, as the case grows with you, with your later builds, etc., if you want to put 140 in there, clearly you can do. All the blanking plates, all this stuff, IO shield section, all cut out very nicely, no issues there. At the bottom, we've got a nice power supply basement section. Power supply wise, you can put in up to 200mm power supply, potentially longer if you want to, if you remove the drive cages, which we'll take a look at next. Side panel, very plain, just a flat panel, but you do actually get to see the effect of the paint, and that's actually quite a decent job they've done on there. Does look very premium. And that takes us round to the rear, so to speak. So tons and tons of room, tons of flexibility. Obviously, that is something that part of this range of cases, the Citadel, something they do really well is there's loads of room for cable management. And the ATX version is no different. So again, you can see all the punch outs for the rubber grommets there, and there's punch outs everywhere for cable management. When I first got this, it actually looked like a complete mess, and when I did the quick throw-in system, I put all the wires in, it looked absolutely awful. But I'm still pleased to say that the side panel went on and it was totally fine. So if you don't really want to do cable management, you just want to throw a system together, this case is fine. But if you do want to go to town and do some decent cable management, then again, you can make it look nice as well. They have included some optional extras in the accessories box, such as these cable clips, which you can see here, which I've routed the front IO down through, which makes a really, really nice, neat job of it, but doesn't impede on the sections here for the cabling, so you can still run your cables up for ATX power, GPU power, all that kind of good stuff. You can see also the cabling for the fans on the front and also the back. So each one of the fans has its own individual addressable RGB channel and also PWM channel, and the PWM channel has a pass-through as well. So if you want to add more fans, you can do very easily. Something they've added, which is really good, I do like this a lot, is Kolink's Umbra RGB controller. This is a fan hub and RGB controller for up to 6 fans and 6 addressable RGB devices. Again, you can daisy chain them if you want to, so if you've got a few more, you can just daisy chain the cables, it's not a problem. I'm glad to say the PWM on this actually works, and it works properly. So 4-pin PWM, choose that in your motherboard BIOS, do your fan settings for the high and low speeds, and it works just perfectly. The lowest speeds that I could get with my Asus board were down to about 20% of the fan rotational speed, which left it somewhere in the region of about 400, 450 RPMs. Clearly, if your motherboard controller is better, then you might get down to 0 fan if you wanted to, tops of 1500 RPM, at which point they do move a lot of air. They are slightly noisy, you are going to hear a little bit of noise to them. There's a very slight clicking at the higher RPMs, but in normal use, desktop use, with the lower RPMs, absolutely fine and basically silent. And in fact, when I had the system running, the loudest thing in there was the graphics card, and that was louder by a country mile. More about the hub. So the hub has 2 connections coming out the top section here. You can, if you want to, it's on as just a sticky pad, so you can move that, put it wherever you want to, maybe stick it to one of the removable drive bays. You do have 5-volt addressable RGB header, also with a pass-through as well for VDG, for gigabyte boards and stuff like that. There's also a PWM connection, so plug that into one of the fan headers on your board, and then you can control all 6 fans directly from one channel on your motherboard, so that's absolutely fine. So if you've got a motherboard which maybe doesn't have 6 fan headers on and you want to add more, then you certainly can do with that. So yeah, fan hub's excellent. It does also come with a remote control, so if you want to set your lighting up, maybe set up some mood, then it does come with a very cool little remote control there. Batteries are included, and you can do things in there, change the colors, etc. We'll show you how that works a little bit later on when we put a power supply and show you the RGB light in, but you can go through and change colors, speeds, etc, etc. Also in the accessories box, you get the bag of screws to put everything together, and also there's some radiator screws, so if you are planning to put a rad in here, you can use the existing fans and put those in. You get some cable ties as well, 6 cable ties there, so that's handy. Also there is 4 Velcro straps as well. Now the Velcro straps are for these sections here, here, and here, and here. So you can cable tie everything down there nicely with things like that, power supplies and all that kind of big cables. Velcro is actually better than cable ties in my opinion. And also if you need to make any adjustments, you can just peel it off and start again. So that's awesome. And also there is the graphics card riser. So if you are doing a vertical mount, that goes on the front of the basement for mounting a virtual graphics card. What else have we got here? So front panel connections. Let's talk about the front panel connections. So the cables terminate here at the bottom, very nice and neatly, and yeah, pretty much everything you'd expect to see here. So you've got your front panel I/O connections, reset switch, power switch, etc. There's two USB 3.0s going into a regular 30-pin connector. You also get something which is awesome, USB Type-C. This is possibly part of the extra cost of the case, to be honest with you. Adding USB Type-C to a case does really increase the cost to the manufacturer. It's one of those really expensive things which, yeah, it's probably a good 10% of the cost of the case to manufacture easily. It's very bizarre how expensive those actually are. There's also a LED light as well, or switch. So actually on the front, which we'll take a look at shortly, there is an LED light, so that plugs into the hub, and then you can control the lights from the hub, press the LED button, cycles through the amazing amount of colours which are available, of which there are many. Next one is going to be the USB 2.0, so that is a single connection for a USB Type A on the top there, and then also there is HD audio, and yeah, I think that is pretty much it. But yeah, the highlight has got to be the USB Type-C, especially on a case of this price. It's actually relatively cheap. It's one of the cheaper cases on the market that actually comes with a Type-C as standard. The hub, I should say as well, is also SATA powered, so that will need a SATA connection to power the hub itself. But yeah, other than that, it's all very much plain sailing. Whilst we're in this area, we've got a hard drive basement, so if you want to use 3.5-inch drives, you can do. It'll fit 2 in there very easily. It's on these plastic removable sleds. 3.5-inch drive or 2.5-inch drives, absolutely fine on there. You probably could do if you needed the extra space or needed an extra drive. Because of where the caddy is, there is a little bit of room there, so you could potentially Velcro or strap on another 2.5-inch drive on the top should you need to. If you don't want the cage in there at all, which potentially you might not need to, 4 screws and you can pull the whole thing out and have all this open space. Power supply basement section here, nice that they've got actually really deep rubber pads there and towards the back as well to keep it all stable and keep it all nice and quiet, which is awesome. 2 removable drive sleds here, so 2.5-inch drives on there you can put in, so 2 screws there on thumb screws, take them off, put your drives on, put them back in. So when it comes to actually drives as standard, 2 3.5s, 2 2.5s, obviously 2.5s will go in the place of 3.5s, and you could probably switch another in there. So potentially 5 2.5-inch drives if you wanted to. But yeah, plenty of room and nice and deep for cable management. There's about 3/4 of an inch there of gap for that cable management, which is yeah, more than enough for most people. We'll take a quick look at the bottom. So you've got a, not the greatest of filters on here. I'd have liked to have seen at this price point a proper plastic removable mesh here, but I guess it does its job. It's not the end of the world and it's not going to be visible, so yeah, it's fine. You've got foam-based feet, which is good, and nice little chrome accents on the feet there, raising up off the deck a little. And you've got the 4 screws there, so remove those 4 screws and the drive cage will come out completely. Taking a look at the top, so again, you can see we've got an absolute ton of room here. So if you want to, you can put in 3 120mm fans, 2 140mm fans, 3 60mm rads, 2 80s, 2 40s, all that kind of stuff. Loads and loads of room, and there is an offset available should you need it. And also it doesn't interfere with the actual I/O. They've done that in a particularly good way. So at the front there, you've got a nice big clicky power button. Next to that, you've got your reset switch and your LED switch. So press that in, you can press for reset, press that one for LED. A little bit close together for my liking. Might be the accidental reset if you're trying to change your LED lighting, which is never great, but it is what it is. You've got your power and hard drive LED activity lights there. Next to that, you've got your USB Type-C. Love to see that on a case these days. Pair of USB 2.0s and a single USB 2.0. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So that covers pretty much all bases. So Type-C for charging your phones, etc., or rapid data transfers on that 3.2 Gen 2. Then you've got USB 3.0, so maybe USB sticks, that sort of thing. Then if you've got drives or devices which don't support that, then you've got your fallback to the USB 2.0. Certainly headphones and things like that sometimes, or even some of the older Xbox controllers don't like running on USB 3.0. So having the extra 2.0, although it's something a little bit old school now, but certainly worth having. And then you've got your separate mic and headphone jacks. I prefer this immensely. I don't like combo jacks. I think they've dialed that absolutely perfectly in there. Okay, so we'll fire it up now so you can see what the fan's like. Now this is actually on the lowest light level setting, so you've got this cool little remote control. And if we juice that up a bit, you can see they do get very bright, but for the camera purposes, I think I'll leave it down a little bit lower. Unfortunately, there doesn't appear to be any way on here of actually controlling the fan speed. So the fan speed is controlled via the PWM from the control hub. Would have been nice to have some speed settings on here, but it doesn't appear that is the case. Unfortunately, you can change the speed of things like the RGB. So at the moment it's on the Unicorn Puke, so we can speed it up to eye-watering levels, and you can go through the various different types of mode available. Click on the play button, it'll go through various cycles of things. You can obviously go through the individual modes, so you've got unicorn puke, various types of flashing, spinning in various colours, all the usual stuff. There are statics in here as well. There's about 60 different variations on here, potentially more. I'm not going to bother counting them because it just takes too long, but you can cycle through. There are literally tons and tons of different types of flow and add effects, etc. I might even do a separate video just so I show every single one of them, but you'll get the general idea. If you go back to play, does the original one again. You can, if you want to, select your individuals. So you've got the white, blue, pink, green, red, amber, or orange rather, and the kind of lilac colour, or purple I guess you'd call it. I'm not too sure. It looks more purple to me here. On the camera it basically looks pretty much like a bluey white, although that is blue and that is white. So anyway, you get the general idea. Handy little remote control. I've got to be honest with you, I love this case. I genuinely do. Now, complete transparency, I should say that Kolink have actually sent this to us free of charge for review purposes. I actually did ask for it. Now, there's 3 cases which I was trying to use for a separate project altogether, to be honest with you, just to test some fans, which the reviews probably come out already, so most people will know about that. But I needed a case where I could fit 3 140mm fans in the front and 3 on the top. And there was kind of 3 which fitted the bill. So there was the Corsair 5000D, which was a potential. There was the Phankteks P500A digital, which actually is currently sat out in the hallway waiting to be returned. And there was this one. And of the 3, this was definitely the cheapest by about 40 to 50 pounds, which is awesome. And actually now I've looked at it and I can see what it can do. I've fallen in love with it, I genuinely have. This is a really good case. It was just going to be one of those things where I reviewed it and possibly sent it back. But this is almost definitely going to become my daily driver. I cannot see a reason why I would not use this on all my PCs, to be honest with you, apart from potentially the price. It isn't a cheap case. Normally we'd look at some kind of more off-budget brands, such as your Kolinks and Sahara, that kind of stuff, as being slightly more budget orientated. But with this particular case, they've kind of upped their game. The construction quality is excellent, all the plastics look very premium. The front mesh is very solid indeed, considering how big it is. It does need to remain very stiff so it doesn't get damaged, all that kind of stuff, but still actually filter well, and it does seem to do that. The hub itself is excellent and actually works with PWM, which is something which is often missing, sadly, from some hubs. The fact that you've got 4 fans, so 4 fans and a hub together, what's that, 35, 40 pounds in general from most places. Then you say the case is about 60 pounds. The fact that it's got USB Type-C and a ton of room, rubberized grommets pretty much throughout. Yeah, it's extremely difficult to fault this case. The only thing which they've missed out, which I personally would have preferred to have seen, which was on the original Citadel, is that folding out side window. For me, that was like a really cool feature. I love to be able to just grab the case, pull it open and gain access to my components, whereas with this I've got thumb screws. Which isn't the end of the world, but certainly I think, being that this is a Citadel case, it would have been really nice to have had that. So hopefully if there's a Citadel Mark II, they do include a hinge side panel. I think that would be really sealing the deal, and at which point I don't think there will be any competition for this case on the market at all. Anyway, I've gushed about this enough. I'm just excited. I want to get my system transferred into this and actually get using it on a daily basis, and yeah, generally excited. So thanks very much to Kolink for sending it out to us. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video and it's been informative. If there's anything else that you feel I haven't covered or you want to know more about, please do reach out to me. I will be using this on a daily basis for my own PC, so yeah, please do reach out. Mike@mikesunboxing.com or just from the comments section. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap this one up. Great case, love it, highly recommended. If I find it any differently, then you guys will be the first to know about it. So anyway, I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.